Alright, I know I've done this video before with the music and the text and everything, but I wanted to revisit it because I think I want to focus a little bit more on the nuances of this Jissen match. I think previously I was speaking more to the general population, and I was really focusing on how to teach them what Taido really is and how Jissen really works. But now I want to really speak to actual practitioners of Taido and really help them learn from this match what Ethan actually does to secure victory against Sasaki. So Ethan is on the right, Sasaki's on the left. This is a match of pretty two high-level competitors. Ethan is a third-degree black belt from U.S. Taido, multiple-time gold medal national champion. Sasaki is a former world Taido champion and just a really, really great instructor in general as well. So this match is really interesting, and it really guides us into thinking deeper into Taido, not just tit-for-tat kind of striking. So the name of the game here is Actions and Reactions. Ethan is very much a counter striker. He doesn't really push the pace, and he doesn't really try and attack with a lot of techniques up front and in sequence in order to hit Sasaki. What he does is he wants to make Sasaki come to him and attack first so that he can react accordingly and counter strike with the correct technique. Now the problem with letting your opponent attack first, a lot of the times, especially for people new at Taido, there are so many different options for your opponent to attack you, and they can attack you from so many different angles that it becomes pretty overwhelming. Especially if your opponent is attacking first, they can really set the pace of the match. So if your opponent is very fast, very acrobatic, and can throw a lot of different techniques at you, the overall options that you have to react to become pretty overwhelming in that state, and you're constantly on the back foot. Now Ethan does something pretty smart here. And what he does is he actually starts a lot of these exchanges between him and Sasaki, and he starts them from the exact same position every time. This accomplishes two things. Number one, by starting the exchanges, Ethan is actually setting the pace himself, and he's not relying on Sasaki to attack him. So he has a lot more control over the situation, and he doesn't allow Sasaki to enter these exchanges on his own terms. The second thing is, by starting in the same position every time, he limits what Sasaki can really attack him with or react to. This way, you kind of take away a lot of Sasaki's weapons, and he has to really play on your field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video. I'm going to show you what Ethan does to start his attack sequences. It's a Shadrugiri feint, more of a front Shadrugiri feint. And I'm going to show you how he uses it to capitalize on Sasaki's reactions and score these high-level techniques. So Ethan and Sasaki are going to set up, they're going to bow, they're going to get ready and get under my position, and the head judge is going to start the match. So at first they're going to do some unsoku around each other, kind of set the distance, set the pace of the match, and Ethan is going to throw the first Shadrugiri feint in order to see if Sasaki will bite. So the feint looks like this. Basically, Ethan's going to throw his front hand and his front knee to the ground and follow through with his back foot in a sweeping motion. This, to Sasaki, will look like a Shadrugiri, in which Ethan would probably throw both of his hands to the ground and do a roundhouse kick from the ground up. But what Ethan's actually doing is he's maintaining a high posture, keeping one hand up, one hand down, and you can see that his head and his body is higher than his belt. This will allow Ethan to not overcommit to the technique and be able to stand up fairly quickly in case Sasaki reacts and tries to jump in on him. This also allows Ethan to kind of shift directions. As you can see, his body is not too widespread across the ground. It's actually kind of close to his center of gravity. This allows Ethan to plant his second foot, and he can actually do a number of techniques in a number of directions from this position. Now, the beauty of this strategy is when Ethan goes down to the ground, it actually eliminates a lot of techniques that Sasaki can actually counter him with. Number one, it eliminates all kicks. According to the Taido rule set, if your hand or knee is on the ground, your opponent is not allowed to kick you, meaning you're not allowed to kick a ground opponent. So here, if Sasaki wants to score on Ethan, he would have to get close enough to strike with his hands, either with a chop or a punch. And you can see in this match, Ethan is kind of relying on that. He tries to bait Sasaki into closing in on him and counter-striking with a technique that would require Sasaki to be close to him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play through the match. I'm going to showcase every time Ethan starts with this Shadrugiri position, and I'm going to showcase the different techniques Ethan uses to kind of bait Sasaki and score on him. Alright, so we're back to the beginning of the match. Ethan and Sasaki are doing some unsoku around each other. So you're going to see Ethan throw a few Shadogiri feints here. So first one he's going to throw, Sasaki is not going to react. He's going to back up and do some more Unsoku. Next, Ethan's going to Sentai, do another Shadogiri feint, and then Senjo. He was thinking that Sasaki was going to jump in on him there, but he didn't. Next, Sasaki's going to try and act first, but when Ethan goes down, he goes underneath with the Hangetsate. So in that sequence, Ethan essentially was going to do a Shadogiri feint, but Sasaki closed in on him very quickly, and Ethan reacted by throwing a Hangetsate, but Sasaki actually jumped over him. So in a short period of time, we've actually seen 3 different reactions that you can do off of the Shadogiri feint. If your opponent does nothing, you just stand up and keep doing Unsoku. If your opponent comes behind you, you can throw a Senjugeri, or if your opponent closes in on you, you can throw a Hangetsate. So next here, Ethan is going to score. So Ethan first is going to throw a long Shadogiri feint. He's going to cover a lot of distance to be a little bit aggressive. Sasaki's going to spin around, try and throw a technique, duck underneath Ethan's Shadogiri, and then he's going to fall into Ethan's trap, in which Ethan hits him with a Nengi. So watching the sequence back, after the long feint from Ethan, you can see Sasaki's going to spin, do a jumping tornado kick. Ethan's going to see that kick coming and duck underneath. Then Ethan's going to react. He's not going to throw a Shadogiri feint. This time he's going to throw a proper Shadogiri. Sasaki's going to duck underneath that Shadogiri, and Ethan's going to capitalize on this reaction. He's going to throw a Nengi. Now this is a very high level Nengi here. Ethan uses his left arm to grab onto Sasaki's ankle, wraps both his legs around Sasaki's waist, and twists and pulls Sasaki to the ground. This is an extremely high level Nengi you see here. Ethan's utilization of his entire body while upside down to cling onto Sasaki to make sure Sasaki can't escape was very advanced, and it was a really great showcase of how you can utilize Shadogiri and then a counter strike right after that. So now they're going to return back to the center of the court. Ethan is being a little bit cheeky here. He goes down to one knee because he knows this is going to be a Wazari. The judge gives him a half point, meaning he's halfway from winning the match. And then they're going to restart the match. So now you're going to see Sasaki be a little bit more aggressive because he's running out on time and he's behind on the scorecards. Now Ethan is actually going to move and throw one more Shadogiri feint here into his Tobi Senjugeri, but it's going to be a little bit too close. No points are going to be scored. They're going to make sure everyone's okay and move forward. Now, this is actually a perfect situation for Ethan because Sasaki is about to be very aggressive, and Ethan's going to cut the corner with a beautiful Hangetsate and hit him with a final technique. This is actually reminiscent of the beginning of the match when you saw Sasaki jump over Ethan and he countered with the Hangetsate. And in this time, actually, Ethan saw it coming because Sasaki attacked from a pretty far distance. Ethan cut the correct angle and was able to hit Sasaki's back. That actually concludes the match. Ethan was able to score 2 half points, meaning 1 full. They return back to the center, and then Ethan is declared the winner. So the biggest takeaway here from this match is when you're training Jissen and you're trying to figure out what combinations to utilize, try and start with the same technique every time. What happens is you're going to really understand all of the different options your opponent has when interacting with that technique, and you can really build a very comprehensive system of different branches from that same position. This allows you to be very quick with your reactions when it comes to dealing with your opponents, and you can build a very high level attack system from there. That way you can see Ethan has utilized it very perfectly in this match, and hopefully you guys can do that too.